So, you're thinking about university. That's awesome. But let's be real, it can also feel like you've been dropped into a country where you don't speak the language, right? You're hearing all these words tuition, credits, Ivy League, and you're just like, what does any of this mean? Well, that's what we're going to do in this explainer. We're going to break it all down so you can actually focus on what's important, finding the perfect spot for you.
And you know what? It's totally normal to feel a bit lost. I mean, you've got brochures, websites, all this information coming at you, filled with jargon and phrases that just don't make sense. It really is like trying to learn a whole new language from scratch. But hey, that's exactly why we're doing this. We're going to go through it all, piece by piece. Think of me as your personal translator. We'll get these key ideas sorted out so you can get back to the main event, finding a place that feels right for you. All right, let's get into it. Section 1, starting your university search. You know, that first step can feel like the biggest hurdle, so let's just tackle those questions that are probably swimming around in your head right now. This is the big one, isn't it? Where do I even begin? There are so many schools out there. Just figuring out where to start can honestly feel like the hardest part of the whole process. But the secret? It all starts with understanding the lingo. Okay, so let's dive right into that. Section 2 is all about decoding that academic lingo. We're going to break down the key terms you'll see plastered all over every brochure and website. Trust me, once you get these, everything else starts to click into place. First up, let's talk about transferable courses. This one is a total game changer. Basically, it means that the credits you earn for a class at one school can actually move with you to another. So if you decide to change schools, you don't have to start from square one. It's like your hard work is portable, which can save you a ton of time and, let's be honest, a ton of money. And how common are we talking? Well, at a lot of schools, a huge chunk of the courses, we're talking as high as 80%, are designed to be transferable. That gives you so much flexibility. It's for sure something you want to keep an eye out for when you're looking at different places. Okay, next term you'll see everywhere, a wide range of subjects. Let's be real, this is basically just a fancy way of saying we've got tons of options. And that's a good thing. It means whether you want to be an engineer, an artist, or you have absolutely no clue yet, a school like this is like a giant playground for you to explore and figure out what you're passionate about. All right, this is a big one. People throw the words college and university around like they're the exact same thing. And while they're pretty similar, there are some key differences that are actually really important to know. So let's break it down. So what's the real difference here? Well, think of it like this. A college is generally smaller, and its main focus is on bachelor's degrees. You know, that first four-year degree. A university, on the other hand, is usually a much bigger institution. It's not just for bachelor's degrees. They also offer more advanced stuff, like master's degrees and PhDs. That's why you'll often find students of all ages at a university, not just the typical 18 to 22-year-old crowd. Okay, let's move on to the elephant in the room, the cost. Yep, we're talking about money. Understanding the financial side of things is obviously a massive part of this whole decision, so let's get into it. So the biggest number you're going to hear about is tuition fees. This is the main price tag, right? It's what the school charges you just for the classes. Think of it as the base cost of your education, before you even start thinking about other stuff like housing, books, or food. So let's say you're talking to someone from a university, and they throw out a number. Maybe they say something like, the tuition is about $15,000. But, and this is a really big but, you need to listen for the magic words that come next. Per semester. This is the catch. A semester is only half of the school year. So when you hear that, you've got to do a little quick math in your head. Because that $15,000 per semester really means you're paying $30,000 for the full year. It's a super common way for schools to talk about cost, so always double check if the price they're giving you is for one semester or the whole year. And here's another little phrase to keep an ear out for. Instead of being direct and saying the price is X, they might soften it a bit. They'll say something like, you'll be looking at somewhere around. It's just a less direct, kind of salesy way of telling you what the price is. It means the exact same thing. All right, so we've talked classes, we've talked money, but what about, life? Where are you actually going to live? Let's dive into the whole world of campus housing. This one's pretty easy. On-campus housing means exactly what it sounds like. You're living in a building that's owned by the university and is right there on the school grounds or campus. The biggest plus? Your commute to class is basically a short walk. Can't beat that.
Now, the most common kind of on-campus housing you'll hear about is a dorm, which is just short for dormitory. But what exactly is a dorm and how is it different from a regular apartment? Let's get into the details.
Yeah, living in a dorm is an experience. It typically means you're sharing a bedroom with at least one roommate. You probably won't have your own kitchen, and you'll most likely be sharing a bathroom with everyone else on your floor. And since there's no kitchen, that's why you'll almost always be required to buy a meal plan, which is basically paying up front to eat at the school's dining halls. It's all part of that classic first year experience.
Okay, last section. Let's zoom out a bit. Now that we've got some of the nitty-gritty details down, let's look at the big picture, the different kinds of schools you can actually choose from.
All right, the big question, public or private? Public universities get a chunk of their money from the government. That usually means they're less expensive, especially if you live in the same state. That's called being an in-state student. Private universities, on the other hand, are funded by tuition and private donations, so that sticker price can be a lot higher. But, and this is important, don't let that initial price tag scare you off. Private schools often give out a lot of financial aid. Now, I'm sure you've heard the term Ivy League thrown around. So what is it? It's not a type of degree or anything like that. It's actually just a name for a small group of very old, very prestigious private universities, mostly in the northeastern US. They're just known for being incredibly high quality and, well, pretty historic. And when we say Ivy League, these are the kinds of names we're talking about. Harvard, Yale, Brown, the University of Pennsylvania, the ones you see in movies. They're all part of this small, exclusive group. But let's not forget another amazing option, community college. These are local schools that are way more affordable. They're built for flexibility, offering things like night classes for people who work, and they're designed to serve the local community. That means you don't have to pack up and move or pay for a pricey dorm room. Okay, wow, we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? From tuition fees to dorm rooms, from public schools to the Ivy League. The point is, you now speak the language. You have the tools to understand what you're looking at. So the only question that's left is the one that really matters. Now that you know all this, what's most important to you as you start this journey?